Congratulations on this. I watched it last night. It was incredible. I was very captivated by it. It puts a mirror to what was going on for us in 2019. It very much captured the emotions of pandemic as it was starting. For both of you, why was it important to make this?
Yeah, it started with an article I read in April 2020, and was about a cruise ship that where the people weren't allowed to go to land, and they had to stay on board. No one was sick, actually. And the twist in the article was that after some time, there was a faction of people who thought about maybe it's better to stay here on board because the world outside just got so crazy. And I really sat back and thought, okay, this is maybe what we are going through in the coming months and years, that we have to decide on our own where's the sweet spot between safety and freedom. And yeah, that's where it all started. And I felt this is bigger than just the COVID pandemic. It's a question we always have in life at every stage, but this COVID thing we are all going through might be the most extreme collective experience we lived through, and that there might be some strength in using part of the situation or the article or these ideas to tell a story that's about something else, about this bigger question of life.
Yeah, and for me, I think during the pandemic, we all have gone through this feeling of isolation and being alone, and almost everything, I think, takes this feeling, but with the sci-fi genre, we put this in a more abstract setting, so everybody can relate to it. It's not a comment on, I don't know, or a political statement. And for me, it was very important to, I don't know, combine this very deeply human drama with this genre in order to, I don't know, also a question to tell us, so what is a life worth living it? Or, I think that's the bigger question here. So that was important to me. And when Nils pitched me the first idea, I was totally amazed by this concept and by this idea. And because it's, also with the coming of age drama, a bigger question about life in a way.
I think it captured this decision that a lot of youth have to do very well. From the beginning of the pandemic, the older generation really was very much affected. It was the younger generation that had that they could possibly go into a bad situation, and therefore, a lot of the youth made the decision that it didn't really matter to them.
Yeah.
You
have to sacrifice, right? If you imagine you just finish school, and that was the reason I made it like a coming of age thing, because I always I don't know what it was like over there with you, but in Germany there was this notion of, okay, these young people, they just should sit back, and it's they're not the ones being in danger, and why do they complain, and how reckless are they to meet their friends illegally, and so on and so on. And I really thought, okay, imagine your whole life until you're 18 or 19, until you finish school, you're always being promised that, okay, you got to do this and that, and have to do this check marks, have to go to schools, learn for your tests, and then you're free. Then you can have your half a year in life where you finish school before you start studying, and you can just live your life as you want. You can maybe, in Germany, you can drink alcohol, you can meet your friends, you have several weeks in a row where you don't have to worry about tests. And in this situation, someone tells you, oh, please stay inside. You're not in danger, but you have to save others, people you don't know, maybe, to really take this into consideration, that of course, it's not about life or death for these young people, but it's about losing something in life, or the feeling of losing something in life that you might never get back.
Yeah, and also when we set this in space, normally you can just jump out a window and steal away from your parents, but that's not possible in space, because in the spaceship is so contained. So I think that elevates this question very much here when we decide to set this in space.
Nice. And the main character, he's coming from, I guess, having a autoimmune disorder, where he's, kind of already not have a lot of freedom because he's been contained to a wheelchair, and now he's supposed to be getting more freedom, and now he has another decision to make. How do you begin to even write this? How do you begin to even bring all this emotion? Because it's impactful. You want to cry for this character at a certain point, and that's just incredible. How do you begin to bring out these emotions in such a short period of time?
I mean, I'm very happy that you say it's working, because this was always the belief in doing that the people feel this emotion. But there's also, of course, every time you do a short, especially, and put so much in there, it's kind of a danger that you don't get the things across, and that you just have this, people know what you mean, but they don't really get into it, or you have to over explain what's actually happening with him, and you lose the time and then to actually live through the situations with him, because you're just explaining things over things over things. But I really felt it's important to put this in there, because in a sense, he's not just this teenager who wants to do teenager things, but he also knows what it's like to not have things in life, and to go through pain, and to be in danger. And when a person like that says, enough is enough, I don't want to do this anymore, and I risk my life to have this all, he's at the same time, he's a teenager who really wants to have these teenager things we can relate to. But on the other hand, he really knows what it means to suffer, and he really knows what it means to go through certain things. So in a way, it makes him a way more special teenager, who you can't just push away as a parent and say, you don't know what life is, let the parents talk. He's adult and not adult at the same time, and that, I think, makes him very interesting. And the biggest credit here goes to Jeremias, who played the person, that I had the feeling he really dug into these things, and he really wanted to know what it would feel like to be locked up in space for so much time. He always asked these questions. He wanted to know the science. He wanted to know. One day he asked me, if I would be doing some, like, touching myself, some teenager thing, how would I do it? My mother is around the corner. Why, like, what's happening in space there? And to ask himself these questions was really going deep to those feelings, that you don't have full privacy there, and so on and so on. So yeah, the idea was really to enrich the world in a way that it's not standing in the way, but that it gets a world, and not just, okay, they're in space, they can't run away. That's our premise. Yeah.
Definitely. And the family aspect of it is very unique, because it's not just mom and dad who are, happy together. It's a troubled family. It's a dysfunctional family dealing with this. How do you when did that idea come about? Why not just have it be, a plain family that's happy and wants to reunite? Why does it have to be a troubled family?
The idea here was that the film was never meant to be an answer to the questions it's posing. It was never to be that perspective where you say, this is how the world should be, but rather say, okay, there are these very different people in there. There's not this Hollywoodish idea of, first there's a family, everyone loves each other, and they get in trouble, and then all these things start. But to get closer to the reality of most people going through the pandemic, that they weren't living in perfect families, or they weren't living in perfect homes where you just can lock yourself inside and play games together and just have a happy life for a year and then go outside again. But on the other hand, it was important that even though it is a troubled family, and even though they have very different opinions, that we always try to make sure that there's not the bad guy and the good guy in there, and the loving mother and the not loving father, or the mother who's just obsessive, but to make them as multi-layered as possible, in order to make this emotion that's in there more urgent, and not just answer the questions by stereotypes. Because on the other hand, like with Susanna, or Nico, the mother, it was also important to not just have this mother who does everything for her son, no matter what, and she's just loving him and so on, but she's her own character, and she has her own approach and her own perspective on life and her own way to do things as a scientist. And she's not just a mother, but she comes from a life, and this situation arises where she has to be a mother in some way, and has to take responsibility, even though she can't in this situation, maybe. So yeah, it was the idea to make them as multi-layered as possible, and not. Yeah.
Independent projects are so difficult to make, and this it goes even more into depth where it's a student project. What were some of the obstacles in making this?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it started with a great idea and a great draft, and then a lot of obstacles and hurdles came along we had to overcome. So it was definitely not easy putting it together. I mean, I'm super grateful for our partners we had in this project. We were able to attach Ari for rental and for post-production as a major partner. Our film school, of course, in Munich was a major co-production partner, our local how to say that, the Bayerische Rundfunk, like the German television or Bavarian television, or local television, was a small partner in this project. So yeah, we tried with every step we had in this project. We tried to find a creative way of working around. So we had not the money to afford a proper stage. We did use an old hall here in Munich that was before it was used by the wastewater management here in Munich. So there was a little bit of a smell in it. But so there we built up the whole spaceship, and built our own stage. So yeah, in a way we had to, work on this tiny budget, and with every decision that came along this way, we have always to ask, okay, is this in the budget? Is this something we can use, or do we have the money for that? And mostly the answer was no. So then we had to find another way of working around, and we had super hands-on crew, and every crew member was okay. I did my very best for the project, and so on. So yeah, I think that's what I'm very thankful for, to have these partners in the project. But on the other hand, okay, always we had to find a creative way of working around, because there was no moment in the project where I was, okay, that's easy, we have the money for it. I mean, it's never like that, but especially with the sci-fi in a student project, that was never the case. Yeah.
Definitely. And with the
from a creative side, the biggest obstacle was to kind of hold this idea together. That in the first place, it's a drama, and it's about a mother-son relationship, about these topics I mentioned, and to on one hand work with all the great team members and Jonas together to create the world and make everything possible, but then keep the focus on, in the end, this is about the actors feeling this world. It's about us getting as close as possible to them, because if you lose probably 2 hours because you didn't know how to exactly put up the rig for the zero gravity thing, you lost these 2 hours and can't do all that many takes, or when the actors don't feel comfortable for the moment, you don't have the time to readjust. So it was really making sure that besides all the technical aspects, the story should be in focus, and everything else is this world that's happening around it, even though this is the most time-consuming thing and the most artistic thing everyone in the team brought to the table, and it feels okay. The acting can happen very fast, but they really had to feel at home there, and everything else was just created around that. And that was the most important thing, to make sure that in the end we all just receive this let's say this gratitude by the audience, or the audience watching the film and caring about the film. If we manage to, after we put up everything, hide that it was complicated and hide that there's a lot of technical aspects, and just like focus on the mother and the son then. So
yeah, I think every day was a big task and a big challenge to align everybody on this creative vision, and to tell every crew member, like when I was on the set, like was everyone okay, if we are able to finish this shoot, we probably can make something great happen, you know. And it was like every day the motivational speech to every crew member. It's like, okay, we have to push very hard here, but in the end, you know, I'm convinced there will be a great outcome, even though we were not sure every day. But I think so. In the bigger picture, that was like a huge challenge to convince everybody and to align everybody on this creative vision Nils was talking about.
Definitely. And now, how are you feeling with has such a high quality end result to this and the recognition it's getting?
I mean, it's a huge honor to hear from the experts, let's say, that they like the film and they like the execution, but first and foremost that everyone first is talking about the emotion in there, and to feel reaffirmed that it's possible to because we like years ago I said the films I wanted to do together with other people are these kind of grounded genre films where you have strong characters in there and use the world to push that. And it really feels like the film is seen and people appreciate the story and they like the concept, and they, it's also a big gift to the whole team, because there were so many people who didn't get paid and worked over hours and believed in the thing and did that for the project, and to receive that feedback, it really feels like we just have gratitude for that so many people, maybe even it's a door opener for everyone in the team to work in the next project, so we can actually give something back, because for most of the time we thought we can never give anything back here. But now it's at least the film is being seen, and at least there's a story in the end, and the spaceship didn't crash, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, as Neil said, it's a huge honor to be shortlisted for an Oscar among these other great filmmakers this year, and I'm super happy that we're able to make this project happen with the limited resources we had. But as Neil said, I think the most important thing is that it means something to our audience, and this deeply human story say something to them and tell something to them about something we all have gone through. So I think that's also a big thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this project. It is magnificent, and I'm happy that it's getting a good audience, and I hope the best for you guys in the future.
Yeah,
thank you very much for having us.
Back to the one thing more to the audience. I think it is like, as a filmmaker, I know that there are filmmakers out there who don't see it that way, but I really feel, and that's something I share with Jonas, that making films is going into conversation with the audience, and it's so great to hear that the audience has kind of accepted the conversation, that they want to go into that conversation, that feel something there. It's not just like, let's say, numb entertainment, and it's just like there, and they don't care about it much, but they really care about it. Or we receive feedback that someone said it reminded him of the relationship he had with his mother, who he loves but is also very obsessive. And another person said, okay, this is actually how my kids were talking to me during pandemic, that they say, you're locking me in here, you're the worst person in the world, you're stealing my life. That it kind of resonates, and that they kind of can connect with it in a very personal way that we are not forcing upon them, but it's irrelevant, and it's very validating to know that this is seen as something relevant to them, and also maybe a bit artful, maybe entertaining as well, to have this mix of what we feel is something that a film can be. And
and it's definitely something. It's definitely something we are aiming for the next projects we are currently developing, to combine this relevant drama with this great world building or world building in general. So thanks again for having us.
No problem. Thanks, and I can't wait to see the next project now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.